Okay, and once again, I'm talking about tropicaltidbits.com, and I've got a couple things off here. And basically what I'm doing is I'm coming through for global, and I'm on the European model right now, European 500 millibar. Not sure how high that goes, but it's not right on the surface because this surface pressure would be 1013 millibars, probably about 1,000 feet up. And what we're looking for is couple of things. We have Katia over here in the Gulf of Mexico, and she's going to get stuck here because um, hurricanes don't go to the east in the Atlantic, at least not until they get up above 45 or 50 degrees latitude. This is Irma, and then we have Jose over here. Give you some idea, this is the Leeward Islands, and these are the islands that got smacked really hard. And I can't think of either one of their names. One of them pretty much got annihilated. Here's Costa Rica. We have Dominican Republic and Haiti on Hispaniola, Cuba, the Bahamas, Bermuda, United States, Florida. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you this run. I'm already a minute into this, and I'm going to show you a couple more runs, and I could really show you enough to make this thing into a 20-minute video. But basically what we're going to do is we're going to start with forecast hour 0, which is now, and you can see it's sitting up on top of the Dominican Republic. And remember, these guys excuse me, spin counterclockwise, so they're going like this. Most of the damage actually gets done in the top half of a hurricane, but you're going to get some water pushed into Dominican Republic here, but you'll also get it pulled away from Dominican Republic on this side. And right now she's going west by northwest, so west northwest, so she's sliding off in this direction. She's probably going to stay above Cuba, and the question is where does she turn north? Does she turn north, go through the Bahamas and stay in the Atlantic? Does she go along the eastern side of Florida? Does she go right down the middle of the peninsula? Does she go on the west coast and into the Gulf and hit Louisiana over there, or hit Mississippi or the panhandle of Florida? We're going to see. So this is the European, and I'm going to grab her, and you can actually see we're going in 12-hour increments. And here is 0. And if you watch her, she starts off with 953 pressure, low, 943, so she's actually getting into warmer water and maybe farther away from Cuba. Slowed down a little bit with Dominican Republic, and you can see over 12 hours she's already past Haiti. And then 12 hours later she's up, and it looks like she will smack into, really close to smacking into Cuba. And then she takes that north spin, and now she hits the middle part of the western part of middle of Florida. So that's going to be really bad for the Keys. And then she moves up in Florida, and then she moves in, and you can see her numbers around 1,000, and then it is 1,000, and then she gets totally washed away by a high that comes across the country. But what I also want to show you is Jose. I've got an ex-student sitting on Puerto Rico, and worried about this hurricane. Jose is now a category 1. In fact, actually in this picture we have 2 category 1s, Katia and Jose, and then we still have a cat 5. But if you watch Jose moves well away from the Puerto Rico, and then moves up into the Atlantic, into cooler water, warmer water, moves back down, circles around a little bit, and then this model dies at 240 hours out. This is Sunday, so the hurricane is over, at least in terms of one, and then we've got another one that's dancing around, and Katia is gone. Okay, so let's go back to global. Let's go to GFS. I like the colors better in the GFS model. Actually, looks like they've changed the color on all of them. Okay, so let's go to 0 hours. That should put her right about here. Come on. So Irma's right there, Katia, Jose's just showing up. Looks like about the same pressure, and if we watch time, the GFS, which is the American model, has it staying well above Cuba. moving along the coast of southern Florida, maybe touching a little bit there, and then slamming into Georgia. As far as I know, Florida and the two Carolinas have called states of emergency. I haven't heard anything about Georgia, but maybe Georgia ought to think about it. And then it moves up on the coast and it's off. Let's take a look at the Canadian model. And we want to go to 0 again. There are the 3 hurricanes located right there. And we watch, not backward, watch it move around south of the Bahamas, north of Cuba. Actually touches right about Key Largo in Florida, and then jumps back out into the Atlantic, maybe intensifies a little bit, and then moves into the southern part of South Carolina, and then off. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the hurricane and show you GFS for Irma. And Jose again stays well away from land masses. And we're going to go to 0 because we don't want to know what she's up here like in Indiana, Illinois area. So there she is sitting right above the Dominican Republic. Here are the Bahamas. And if I can get up here to this location, again, the purple are pretty much hurricane force winds, and then we actually move out to tropical storm force winds with the green. So you can see that even though the eye is not touching it, we're getting some pretty good wind right along the northeast coast of Dominican Republic. These are 6-hour increments. So 6 hours later, she's still over the Dominican Republic. She's headed toward Bahamas. Looks like she misses Haiti pretty well, even with the tropical storm winds. Moves a little south of the Bahamas, although hurricane force winds for these islands, that's not going to be good. Tropical storm for Cuba. Then she moves above Cuba, below the big islands of the Bahamas. And again, this is the GFS, so doesn't really, just kisses the coast of Florida, moves up and then slams into the northern part of Georgia, southern part of South Carolina. And last one, the Canadian, we'll do it with Irma again. We'll start with 0. Above the Dominican Republic, and with time south of the Bahamas, north of Cuba, and this one has it coming in. I think the keys actually start right here with can't think of the name right now, but I think it's going to come in right at base of Miami in terms of the Canadian. Moves up through the center part of the peninsula, out up around Daytona area, and then comes back in right at the southern part of South Carolina. Okay, so that's what I see for today, and today is the 7th of September. It's actually supposed to get hit sometime around Sunday. This one's coming in at Sunday. Actually looks like about Saturday midnight, but Saturday midnight to Sunday around 12 o'clock at noon, depending on the models, depending on the speed of Irma. Again, either going up the east coast, going down the center, or actually coming in a little bit west of center. But it looks like Florida is going to get some pretty nasty wind and waves, and so are the states above it, Georgia, South Carolina, maybe even part of North Carolina. Okay, that's good. Thank you. And again, it is tropicaltidbits.com.